Welcome into another edition of Game Changers. Of course, Kimbo Camper can't take anything seriously. He's clapping. Ready? And go. All right, the show has started. Kimbo Camper, Steve Goldstein, Mike Cunha with you as always, each and every week. Yes, we got to talk about the Miami Dolphins, guys, because they did suffer that ugly loss up in Philadelphia. But before we go anywhere, Mr. Goldstein, did you happen to see on TV the jacket that my man Kimbo Camper was wearing on the sidelines?
I only heard about it.
My
guess is he went right near Broad Street somewhere.
Right.
And he got into a confrontation with some 20, 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
And they dragged him in a store. Because how else would you find that smooth, cool jacket?
I'm a fashion plate.
Oh, yeah, okay. Maybe I just got it wrong.
That's what I am.
A little fashionista over here.
Look it. What more do you need to know about fashion? I'm Mr. Fashion from A to Z and everything in between.
Show that to everybody.
Right there, my man, Mikey D. Mikey D. Give me more time on the coach's show, though, Mikey D. I need 2 more minutes.
Next, you need $2,000 sneakers to wear,
right?
Like the coach.
That was.
He wears size 15. I'll just get his throwaways. I get his throwaways.
I do want to mention.
Don't bring him to Goodwill. Bring him to Bo.
I do want to mention one more thing before we start the show. Goldie beforehand started, looked at me and goes, "Oh, Mike, you're a little casual today." And I'm like, Bo's wearing a T-shirt. Like,
yeah, but it's got,
look, there's
Mike McDaniel on the T-shirt.
So that dresses it up a little bit.
You could be wearing a tuxedo and it's not better than that T-shirt.
By the way, Mike, you stopped doing bicep work?
No, what do you mean? I'm hiding them. I don't want to embarrass.
You don't want to show us up?
If I made a pin stuck in there and it deflated.
Here we go. Don't start. All right, let's move on to the Dolphins because I know Bo's gonna like this topic a lot. The narrative out there on the Dolphins after they lost to Philly was that they can't beat good teams. Bo, is that fair to say that they're maybe more pretenders than actual contenders?
So let me see now. They lost to the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo.
That's correct.
They lost to the defending NFC champions Philadelphia Eagles.
You're on the money.
In Philadelphia.
Accurate.
Right?
Yep.
You tell me where the shame is there. They're 5-2, and don't give me. Hold on. I know it's gonna say. Well, they beat bad players.
Yeah.
I remember going out to LA to play the San Diego Chargers and going. This is one of the key games to start off the season. Two high-powered teams, big teams, Super Bowl contenders, and now all of a sudden, since we beat them, and they go, they weren't that good. Look at you play who you play. And you win and you win. And let me tell you, losing to those two teams on the road, if you think that's something, I guarantee you, everybody that checked off the wins and losses had those two as a loss going in. Right?
I will say, though, Goldie, the loss to the Eagles doesn't feel as bad as the loss to the Bills.
Well, they played pretty well. You're within a score. I mean, you're driving, two unfortunately makes that throw. Decision to make that throw. Maybe there was miscommunication. Two guys, Waddle and Mostert right next to each other. Yeah. Otherwise, they were on their way into tying that game at 24. So this was a game right down to the wire. So you definitely got a different feel. The defense was involved, forced a couple of turnovers. But, these, to your point, Bo, these are tough teams. Yep. Eagles are a Super Bowl team, and they're very difficult places to play. And I know fans don't like hearing it, but there was progress made from the Buffalo game to the Philadelphia game. By the way, on your point, Giants have won 2 in a row. They were a play away from beating the Bills, and the Dolphins blew them out. So, to just say none of those wins matter.
Sure.
Dolphins pounded all those. And by the way, New England just beat Buffalo, and the Dolphins have a win over them. So, but this team at some point, and they've got plenty more opportunities because you're playing KC. You go into the Jets. You got Dallas. You got a game at Baltimore. Plenty of opportunities to beat good teams.
And I hear the bugles coming. Here come the reinforcements.
Yes.
Come on. Here come the reinforcements. Jalen Ramsey.
8 guys out of the lineup.
There you go.
Yes.
Ramsey, X, Achane.
You had your third left tackle playing against one of the best defensive fronts in the league.
I also think it puts an emphasis on, even if you're beating up on bad teams, that's fine. You can't lose to those bad teams. You have to win out because we're now seeing with that Dolphins offense, the crowd noise does become a bit of a factor with the communication getting from the sideline to the huddle to the line of scrimmage. That is a factor, so it makes it even more important that they stack up all these wins. But
you're right. You're when we look back at this last decade, and you look at
you were right. You are right. And then he went right over it.
Not tight, just right.
You went pretty quick though.
But you go through the last decade where they've won 9 games, maybe 10, 8, and you see be a loss to a 2-14 Tampa team, or a loss to one of at home. Those are the ones that break your back to get in the playoffs. Not these losses to good teams on the road. It's when you lose to the subservient teams at home. That's what kills you.
Also, it being an NFC loss, I think you can step back and go.
Also, but you made a great point, and I've talked about this for a couple weeks. This team, this franchise, has graduated from 9-8 and sneak in the playoffs, and you hope you make it to. How do we get to the Super Bowl? And the way they get to the Super Bowl is to get home field. I don't know if they're going to go to Arrowhead or go to Buffalo or go to Baltimore in late January and win a game to go to the Super Bowl. Home field is key, but I'll tell you what, the schedule looks a lot tougher than maybe it did. I mean, those 2 Jet games are going to be brutal. You have a handful, maybe Tennessee at home, the Raiders at home. You check his wins. The rest of them, tough games.
Look, we were talking about this weekend. During my career, we played in 2 Super Bowls, 3 AFC Championship games, and we never won a playoff game on the road. Never won a playoff game on the road.
All right, we need to move on to the other big news this week, that the Dolphins will be featured on Hard Knocks, HBO Max. It'll be a lot of fun as the in-season team. Goldie, listening to Mike McDaniel yesterday, it sounded like he was a little hesitant about it just because you're welcoming cameras into your building, your facility. Ultimately, good or bad for the Dolphins?
Well, first of all, I think it's great for the franchise, okay? Because big picture, this is what you want. You got F1, you got the Miami Open, you got tons going on. The stadium is a destination. They spent a fortune to renovate it. It's beautiful. And the Dolphins, they have the fun with the celebrations. You got the speed, you got the big offense. This is what they want the franchise to be. So from that standpoint, it's great. No coach is ever going to love it. Mike McDaniel goes so far as to during training camp, he knows when the media is watching, and he won't run certain plays in practice. So no coach is going to be 100% thrilled just in case something gets out there. But I think McDaniel's going to be a flat-out star during this thing.
I think he loves it.
You do?
I think he loves it. I've seen him over the past few weeks or so. He's doing podcasts, long form podcasts, not 3 or 4 minutes, long term. He's kind of he's getting the limelight, and I think he enjoys it. That's well and good. And I just I was in with him doing the coaches show yesterday and watching the whole press conference when he was announcing it. I think he's excited for it. I think he's excited for them to come in. He said, "We got a fun team. We got a really good team. We're gonna and we he set some limits on them." I think he's all in 100%.
All right. Well, before we wrap
I'm in
up,
98.
I can't wait to see it. It's gonna with the personalities on this team. I think it's just going to be fascinating.
I think the one person who might not like it is Tua, because I believe he said no to the quarterback show.
That's correct, he did.
So I think that might be a little strange.
But they're not following him home.
Right.
I think with the quarterback show, he wasn't interesed in having them at his house with his family.
A little more intrusive.
But you look at the character. They got Christian Wilkins and Sealer and all the Tyree, all the personalities on that football team are going to be very, very entertaining for everybody.
For sure. All right, before we wrap this up, this week
Goldie might even get on.
I hope. Can I sneak in there?
If we get on, do they have to send us a check?
Of course they have to send it. By the way, if it replays years later, you get the residuals. We should.
Love it.
Movie star.
Yeah. All right, wait.
Are you still getting money?
Yes.
No, I took $400 flat fee.
Worst businessman ever.
By the way, quickly, I know we have to go to
that was one of my worst moves.
Did you know that Kim Camper was ranked once
as a wrestler?
Yes.
Top 500, my friend.
In a magazine.
Top 500, my friend.
All right, before
2 steps above Snoopy, the circus clown.
All right, before we go to break, the Bills did lose to the Patriots this week. Bill Belichick ends up getting win number 300. Does the Dolphins a solid. So, Mr. Camper, would you like to say anything nice this week about Bill Belichick?
Yeah, he stinks more now than he did last week.
He stinks more now?
Yeah.
Not a little bit less?
No.
Okay. All right, that's it. All right, more to come up on Game Changers. The Hurricanes, do they have a budding new star on defense after last week's win against Clemson? We're talking about the man, Rueben, Bain himself. More to come on Game Changers next. Welcome back to Game Changers. We got to talk about the Miami Hurricanes right now. This past week, they end up beating Clemson, which even though Clemson is having a down year and not ranked at the moment, that is a big win for the Hurricanes program. And I think there's a star emerging on that defense in freshman Rueben Bain. Bo Camper, this is your area of expertise.
I believe he was the Namor winner, right?
He was the Namor winner. That's right. That's right. What has impressed you so much about what this young kid can do?
Everything.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, his get off the ball, he's massive.
Huge kid.
He's not. But he's tight. He's not a heavy. Not the fat guy. And you talk about power off the line. He's got all the moves. He can power drive you. He can beat you up the field in speed. He's relentless. He runs. He wants to be the best. And this is his first year. And nobody. I would doubt there's another freshman in the country playing at the level he is right now.
Especially at that position.
Yep.
There was a point in that game where he literally threw a tackle. And I went to the game and I wanted to see Clemson up close because I use it as a little bit of a measuring stick for what Miami has got going on compared to Clemson. And that was a big offensive line. And for a freshman goalie to do that, that's incredible. Do you think it'd be too much pressure to say, though, that this kid could be the next great Hurricane?
Oh, no, I don't think so at all. And I can tell you this, our former colleague here at CBS, Jason Taylor, for a couple of years, when they were recruiting him, he knew that Rueben Bain's got a chance to be one of those guys. And it's funny how, we kind of played the result because Mario runs out the clock at the end of the fourth quarter. And if they lose that game, we're not talking about Rueben Bain. We're talking about another coaching loss.
Yes.
But they found a way to win that game. So this is the discussion. One thing we do know, we see the forest through the trees, even when they gave away the Wake Forest game. And they lost to North Carolina. Georgia Tech. I'm sorry. We kind of talked about how let's see the forest through the trees. This defense has a lot of talent. This team has a lot of talent, even though they lost those couple of games.
James Williams.
You talk about he's following in Sapp and Russell Maryland and all those great defensive linemen at the University of Miami. He's the next guy right in line for that.
If you ever go to the practice facility, get a chance to walk in there, there are all these banners of all these top guys hanging up in the rafters. I think he ends up being on one of those banners.
Let me tell you, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft.
Yeah,
no doubt.
He's incredible.
By the way, can I give you a quick question?
Sure.
Dabo Sweeney, after the game on the 4th down, selling out his quarterback, he changed the play and decided to, good or bad, coach like that, telling the truth, but he's like, hey, it's not my fault. It's my quarterback's fault.
I mean,
what do you think?
The quarterback admitted it, Cade Klubnik.
No, we know it's the truth. Usually the coach defends.
Coach would usually take he would dive on the sword.
Or the old, we need to be better.
I need to coach him up better.
Dabo's been missing a lot lately on some of this stuff.
I thought it was interesting in college football to say that.
Well, how many years has it been until they've been getting beaten up? It's been 10 years, right?
Losing.
You're getting roughed up a little bit now. I don't want anything to do with that.
All right, Tyler Van Dyke obviously did not play last week. It looks like he's going to be good to go this week against Virginia. But I'm wondering, guys, did Miami, I know it was a slow start for Emory Williams, but in the process of beating Clemson, did we get a sneak peek at the future of the quarterback position for the Miami Hurricanes? Because I thought he handled himself well. He had one deep turnover, basically a punt. But did you like at least the way the kid handled himself in this game?
Well, I'm going to have to step back on this one because at the time they were playing, I was in a steak place up in
Philadelphia. With that jacket.
With that jacket, having a nice big fat steak.
Someone else was paying, I assume. That silly question. Sorry, apologize. Of course.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Couldn't afford the meal because he paid for the jacket.
So I didn't see the game, but he played well. and the steak was fabulous.
I'm sure. What'd you get? Ribeye or?
No, I got me a little 8-ounce filet.
Ooh,
Pittsburgh style,
8-ounce.
crispy on the outside, pink in the middle.
8-ounce.
The side is more important. What'd you get as a side?
Mashed potatoes.
Nice. Cream spinach. Mushrooms. Staples. Sure.
There you go. Yeah, everything.
Sure.
Not a lot of green.
Little vino, just a little sip of vino.
And by that little, he meant a bottle about that big. All right, next on Game Changer, we're going to talk to Miami Heat. Their season kicks off this week, but do they have enough to make another final run? We're going to kind of get Pat Riley's take on that. He talked to Miami Herald this week. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Game Changers, and this is the age-old question, at least for the last few years with the Miami Heat. Do they have enough to make a finals run? Do they have enough help for Jimmy Butler?
Yeah.
Pat Riley was asked that question this week by the Miami Herald, and he basically said, look, we need guys like Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero to step up and stop being the 19, 20-point guys per game, be the 25-point per game guy. Can either of those two gentlemen take that next leap and be enough, considering on all the players, the Lillards, the Beals, the Durants that they've missed out on the last few years?
I think they can. When I look at Bam, most of the shots he misses are like 2 to 3 feet right at the base of the hoop. That should be easy to fix. Tyler, again, he's got to provide. He's got to provide quick energy, and he's got to provide points. And that's really, if he's not doing that, he's not going to be a great defender for you. If he's not scoring points and getting you the points you need, then you got to look elsewhere. But I like where this team is. As long as you got Jimmy Butler in there, they're kind of stabilizing things. And look, the other thing is, as long as you got Spo, Spo.
In Spo you trust.
Spo I trust. He'll. I don't care wherever they end. This basketball team ends. He will get the best that he can out of this basketball team.
Is this a little bit of a pivot from people calling out Riley, saying, hey, how come you haven't been able to land that really big fish really since the Big Three era, or I guess really since getting Jimmy Butler here, and saying, hey, the guys on the team need to step up now. It can't just be me bringing people in.
Well, he's going to say that now, that they didn't get Lillard. I mean, that's what is he supposed to say now? And he's accurate. That is the only way they're going to win. Bam does need to be more consistent. I mean, he had games even during the finals like, whoa, he was great, early in some of those games. And I think Tyler Hero has it in him. But for this team, as we learned last year, just finish in the top 8. I think this whole regular season, I'm not going to call it a training camp, but you know what I mean? It's a ramp up to the playoffs, because somehow you're going to have to do what you did last year, beat Milwaukee, Boston, one of them, both of them in a 7-game series. They were able to do last year. Can you do it again?
And that what concerns me, where last year you had the Max Struses, you had those guys Gabe Vincent, the ancillary players that popped up and really carried you early on through the playoffs, while the other guys were getting their feet on the ground. And so I'm not discounting. I'm not lost to me is what they did to get the team into the finals, and they're gone now. Who's going to be the guys that come in and does the dirty work that those guys were able to do?
But I do think historically, you talk about those guys, you can go back to the Ike Austins of the world. It's been 25 years of coming up with these guys. So is there a guy or two on that roster that will be sitting here in a month or two and be like, oh, this guy can get it done?
They should put a map on the wall of all the guys that were backups when they weren't here, were starters and big players when they went here, and then went back and were backups when they went to another team.
But the list is very long.
The list would be very, very long.
They got them paid. That's all that matters, right? It should be fun to watch what they
Gabe Vincent should have stayed. He took like $4 million extra to go out to L.A.
Well, that's neither here nor there at this point. All right, next on Game Changer, we're going to get on to what's trending. We're going to talk a little hockey when these guys stop talking over me. Panthers, NHL. Goldie, I have a big question for you. We'll be right back on Game Changers. Time to hit the night.
I like that music, Goldie, don't you? That little leading music's pretty good, huh?
Hardest part about my job here at CBS is talking when this guy's talking. As you, the hardest guy to rein in.
I don't do it on purpose. I just can't help myself.
All right, time to talk some hockey now, Goldie, for what's trending.
What do you got?
This one's for you. We got the Frozen Frenzy now. We have the Red Zone channel and the NFL. Frenzy. We have Whip Around on MLB Network, but now they're debuting the Frozen Frenzy, where they stagger all these hockey games happening at once and jump into live action and try to call the highlights, just like you would see for Red Zone channel. Goldie, as a play-by-play man, do you like this? You think this is good for the sport?
I think it's an awesome idea. One night, every single team plays. And every 15 minutes, starting like at 6 o'clock Eastern time, a different game starts. I think it's a great idea. Adds a little juice to it because, as we know, hockey, basketball, baseball, regular seasons get long and spruce it up a little.
So if you're in a hockey market, Can you watch all the games?
Yeah, you can watch all the games, sure.
Yeah, I believe
not on
it's
one.
ESPN,
How do they go?
Well, you can't watch all the games the same, but you get all the highlights, like it's a red zone type thing.
Oh, okay.
So if someone scores,
so you may
they
be
go right
watching
to it.
one game, but then you're seeing.
And you can watch whatever
they're
you
doing
want.
break-ins to every single game. Like if there's a power play, they may jump in on that and see.
Yeah, close. And then when the games start ending, you catch the end of each close game.
After I have a couple cocktails, it's going to get pretty confusing.
The room's going to start spinning a little bit.
Well, it usually spins a little bit. Maybe
I was going to say, without the cocktails, it's slightly confusing. With them, it's very confusing.
I'm going to have to cut back on. I'm going to have to cut back to 3.
Here's the benefit. Now the whole world gets to hear our boy.
Wow.
Goldstein.
Hey.
You better have those gold
That's
calls
their problem.
ready. You better have
If the whole world gets to hear him, we may not have him next week. He may be off in Finland or somewhere. They're hiring him for their Olympic team or
I'll
whatever.
go to Finland. Kitos.
All right.
That means thank you and finish it.
Before we go, one more time, we'll clap it up for our fashionista here. Kim Beaucamper in that jacket.
Let's
We can't
see.
show it enough
Look at
here on
that.
Game Changers. You know, Jalen Phillips.
Jalen won't even look down.
He can't.
He was scared to be distracted. See, Jalen was staring right at you.
Mike McDaniel is waving to him saying, hey, that's a great
Jalen
jacket.
came up to me and said, hey, I like that jacket. I said, hey, brother, get your hands off
See,
it.
look, Mike's waving
See, he even liked that.
Look at that.
You didn't hear him. He said, hey, Bo, nice jacket.
All right.
That's what he said. Even Kahoo liked it.
He
wanted it, but it was too big for him.
The Dolphins didn't win in Philly, but Beaucamper certainly did. That's it for Game Changers.
Free dinner and that jacket?
Free dinner
he was a big winner. What, are you kidding me, Cunha?
We'll see you next time on Game Changers. Thank you guys.
He's like Rocky.
Yes.
I put the coat on the dinner
He's
tab.
up at the top of the steps. Like, see you next time.